Hello guys, welcome to HolybeastTech channel. I'm Arfa and I'm back with a new topic called mouse pulling rate. Is the mouse pulling rate just a marketing ploy or is a higher pulling rate truly necessary? If it is necessary, what are the potential consequences? Additionally, who would benefit from a higher pulling rate and who might not? We will address all these questions for you. And I assume you are familiar with what a mouse pulling rate is. If not, there's plenty of information available online and on YouTube. While I often create content that's unique on YouTube, since you are here watching this video, let me explain the concept of pulling rate to you.
So, pulling rate is the rate at which mouse sends the data to the computer. It's measured in hertz and typically ranges from 125 hertz 8 milliseconds to 1000 hertz per 1 millisecond.
My wireless mouse currently registers at 1000 Hz pulling rate, even though it supports up to 4000 Hz. To reach 4000 Hz, I would need to buy a Razer adapter. It will cost me around 2500 rupees. I have already invested 5000 rupees in this mouse, and additionally 2500 rupees for this adapter would bring the total cost up to 7500 rupees. If my mouse was a wired one, then a C-type adapter could allow up to 8000 Hz pulling rate, which would be displayed on the screen over here. Let me demonstrate what the display would look like if I were to purchase the 2500 rupee adapter for my wireless mouse, allowing it to reach 4000 Hz. Additionally, there are other high-end Razer mouse like the Razer Naga V2 Pro that supports an 8000 Hz pulling rate. What challenges and benefits you might encounter when using an 8000 Hz pulling rate, even if it is for gaming? YouTube doesn't specify if using a high end pulling rate will slow down your PC or which CPUs are compatible for high end pulling rate. It just recommends using a high pulling rate for gaming. I will explain which CPU you should use for your preferred pulling rate and which mouse is best suited for it. I have made this content by using various mice and various CPUs along with monitors. Then I thought I should help you guys as well. So this is my own content, not a copied one. I have created an Excel sheet for you so that you can buy the mouse as per your CPU and monitor. If your mouse supports a 1000 Hz pulling rate, you should at least have an Intel i3 10th Gen or Ryzen 5 3600X, and your monitor should have 75 Hz or 90 Hz or 120 Hz range of refresh rate to get fully benefit from 1000 Hz pulling rate. I would recommend you at least 90 Hz to 120 Hz to experience smooth performance. My mouse movement appears smooth due to the high pulling rate I am using, but you might not notice the difference on YouTube, which typically displays only 60 fps. However, if you could view it in at 90 fps, you would be able to experience the same fluidity. Using a 2000 Hz pulling rate results in a latency of zero point 0.5 milliseconds. To handle this, you should have at least an Intel i3 13100F, that is 13 Gen, or Ryzen 5 5600 CPU, both of which should support up 144 Hz of monitor. GPU is also equally important, so ensure you purchase one that supports 144 Hz refresh rate of monitor, as it is capable of handling resolutions like 1080p or 2K or 4K. Knowing your GPU's capacity is essential. For a 4000 Hz pulling rate with a latency of 0.25 milliseconds, minimum of an Intel i5 12th Gen 12600 or Ryzen 7 5700X processor is required, along with 165 to 200 Hz monitor. Processors below i5 12th Gen or Ryzen 75700X may struggle, as your system will need to handle significant processing demands at this pooling rate, also at this refresh rate.
Moving forward, for 8000 Hz pulling rate, the latency would be around 0.125 milliseconds. The CPU I would suggest is necessarily at least Intel i9 12th Gen 12900 or Ryzen 9 7900. CPU should be paired with a monitor which is around 240 Hz. While lower configurations like the above mentioned ones will also support at for this pulling rate 8000 Hz, for a seamless competitive gaming experience, I would advise you to opt for i9 12th Gen or Ryzen 7900 as I have mentioned here, rather than an i5 or i7. If your CPU lacks sufficient power, investing in such high pooling rate like 4K, 8K would be waste of money as it won't deliver the performance that we were expecting. For 8K i7 9th Gen paired with 165 to 200 Hz monitor can also work, but to fully appreciate the benefits of 8000 Hz pulling rate, you will need an at least i9 12th Gen processor and a 240 Hz monitor. Now let's go with the pricing of these mice. The first one, a 1000 Hz mouse will cost you around 4000 rupees. The second one is 2000 Hz, which is not available in the market right now. Let's go to 4000 Hz. It will be costing around 5000 rupees, and 8000 Hz will be costing you around 12000. I'm sorry, it is 2000 here. Whether it's worth investing in such higher pulling rate, it completely depends on the power of your CPU and monitor. If they aren't up to the par, then the system may crash, leading to the poor gaming experience. Again, to avoid these issues, you might need to lower the pooling rate, for example, like 500 or 100 Hz in through these settings, and this will make sure that you can do the smooth gameplay. If you're unsure of your mouse pulling rate, then you can also go to this website, and you can check there in your mouse pulling rate. Let me show you here. The website is cptest.org slash pulling rate test slash. Here you can check your mouse pulling rate just by registering here.
Click on start and it will start registering your mouse pulling rate. Mine is not exceeding 1000 Hz because I have made the setting in the settings that it should not exceed above 1000 Hz.
To exceed 1000 Hz with my wireless mouse, I would need to use a dongle which I had shown here. This is costing me around 2500 to 3000 INR. If you're unsure of your mouse pulling rate, this website can provide with the information. Even for higher pulling rate mouse like 2000 Hz or 4000 Hz or 8000 Hz, we can also verify if your mouse is actually registering at the specified pulling rate on this site. As I mentioned earlier, if your CPU doesn't meet the required specifications, it doesn't mean that it's obsolete. You can compare its performance on another website. I'll include in the description as well. Simply copy the CPU model number and paste it into this site. Site is called user benchmark. Here you can compare. Okay, let's check for Core i5 8th generation. It will indicate which CPU is faster in the comparison, but also be sure to use the Excel I have provided you to use it smartly. This one here, you can copy the name, whatever the CPU wanted. I have checked the i5 8th generation and I am checking the comparison.
So here i3 10th generation is quite equivalent to i5 8th generation. FPS is only differing by 7%.
Let's check with Ryzen 5 3600. Here, let's copy it, Ryzen 5 3600, and let's search it here. Okay, now it is showing only 3% difference, which is favorable one. You can also check here a list of games. Remember, if the difference is plus or minus 10, the CPU is compatible. For the i9 14900, the difference is significant, indicating it's not compatible. You should consider the average score in these kind of cases. Another key factor is which games actually support pulling rate. Currently, not all games are supporting higher pulling rates like 2000, 4000, and 8000 Hz. I will show you the list of games which are supporting the pulling rate. Let's go to user bench website here. For games like CS2, Overwatch 2, Valorant, League of Legends, and Dota 2, using a higher pulling rate such as 4K or 8K is beneficial only for these 5 games. And if you are playing any other games apart from these 5, then only 1000 Hz is pulling rates are supported, which means that all games are supporting 1000 Hz. Only these 5 games are supporting higher pulling rates. If you are genuinely benefiting from higher pulling rates, particularly the 5 games I have mentioned above, it makes sense to opt for them. Otherwise, 1000 Hz is sufficient since it's supported by all the games. There's no need to spend extra money. Even at 1000 Hz, competitive gameplay is possible as I have experienced myself. I purchased both 4K and 8K pulling rate mouse for my Ryzen 5 7500X CPU. While I noticed some slight stuttering with both, it wasn't too severe because my CPU handles the load well. If your CPU is powerful like an i5 or higher, you can consider 4K. It offers a good balance despite a few drawbacks. While 8K is supported with an i9 processor, I would recommend sticking with 4K for a better gaming experience, especially in competitive settings. Yeah, if you have the skill, you can excel even at 1000 Hz pulling rate too. If you are considering a higher pulling rate, just make sure that your CPU is high end and compatible. If your mouse is a wired one, it's cheaper to go for a higher pulling rate. Again, 4K is like sweet spot. 8K will be more viable in the future when powerful CPUs are like more affordable and widely available. Now you can choose a mouse after considering all the factors I have discussed in this video. I believe that I have covered everything, but if I missed anything, please do let me know in the comments. I'll definitely go with the comments, and if necessary, I will make another video on that. Okay, guys, I hope this video has been helpful in your decision. For more informative videos, please do subscribe to the HolybeastTech channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.